Yo! Hey there. Doing my driving, talking, calm ranting thing. The calm ranting thing, yeah. Not got anything particular to talk about. I just have a general discussion, general point of view, and some questions asked. The date is the 18th of November 2022. So we are on the verge of a World Cup. Anyone that's watched my previous videos will know I've suggested that football is my kryptonite. It's my mainstream kryptonite. It's my one attachment to the mainstream world. My one that keeps me connected to the masses. Other than that, I don't pay attention. I don't participate. I'm not interested. But do you like my football? And I continue to like my football. There's nothing wrong with that. I see it for what it is. I see the bread and circuses. I see the over-the-top adulation that it gets. I see the stupidity of how it works in tangent with society. If anything, I always use my mainstream associations as my biggest proofs of the nature of things, rather than pointing to something like esoteric. I think that's the best example of the way things operate, which is kind of hidden in plain sight, because they'll have you believe conspiracy theories or off the hinge lunatics and all this kind of stuff. But if you just take a look at the mainstream, you ask yourself, why is it so important? Because it's not really, it's like football's like front page now. It's not even back page, it's front page. And half of it's not even like football news. You hear about their wives and nonsense like that. I mean, there's been a recent interview with Cristiano Ronaldo, and the whole thing's loathsome, really. But man wants to talk, man wants to share his views. But the amount of interest that it generates beggars belief, really. How people get so involved in something that's ultimately what it's boys kicking a ball around. And I said I love football, but I know what it is. I know that it's boys kicking the ball around. It's a game. I remember a few years back, became aware. I think there was some refereeing incident. I can't remember exactly what it was. I think it was that dickhead Mike Dean, and he did something in an Arsenal game that upset the Arsenal fans so much that they managed to get enough. They basically got a petition going and got enough people to sign that petition to have it raised in Parliament. And that made me think, Jesus, man, we got paedophilia at the highest levels of society, pulling the strings, and people just hear about it and don't care. You got corruption at every level. We're being fleeced from every perceivable angle. People don't care. But a referee makes a dodgy decision, and everyone's all up in arms and trying to raise petitions to get it questioned in Parliament. And that is the problem. It's your energy and how it's conducted. You get all riled up and upset and emotional about boys kicking the ball around. But you don't care that your kings got a catalogue of paedophilic connections. You don't care that your queen's paying off her son for being a pedo. You don't care that multinational companies, media companies, have deep roots in paedophilia like Disney, and they're pushing it through all the programming. What can I do on that? But referee dodgy decision. Oh my goodness! This is disgraceful! Let's speak to the government. Let's take to the streets. And that's the imbalance. And that's the proof that your mind state's managed. Your mind state is under control. And the things you get upset about are the things you're supposed to get upset about. And you don't get upset about things that you should get upset about. But that brings me to my observation. I said there's a World Cup coming up. This World Cup, I love the World Cup. I really enjoy it and look forward to it. Mainly because it takes place at the end of the season, and instead of having a bit of football, you get a bit more football. You have to excuse me. I've had a bit of a flu lately, so feeling good. But the World Cups come bang in the middle of the season, and I just think it's an unwelcome disruption right now. But that's just a footballing point of view. But from a more manipulation of the masses point of view, I question the timing of it, because I don't think anybody thinks that it's good timing. Even through the mainstream, it seems to be suggested that this whole World Cup and the timing of it and the placing of it is a farce. And there's a lot of pushing. I've noticed, I've seen just like one sort of press conference with one player the other day, and they start pushing him to have a say on the human rights in Qatar and all that kind of stuff. And I can't help but feel that that's kind of by design, it's by intent. I feel like this World Cup has been put there on purpose as some new form of regime change. So they're kind of trying to manipulate and force a culture on a different culture through football. It's funny because I seen something the other day. I think it was like Wrexham or something, and some Wrexham player was scolded because he had some football boots that said something about the Conservatives or something. He was told you're not allowed to make political statements in football. Yeah, at the same time, all the footballers are being pushed to wear these rainbow boots and speak out against the country that they're playing in that is hosting the World Cup. And I'm sure that's a political statement. So the hypocrisy is incredible. But I just feel the timing of it just seems a bit fishy to me. Now, I've kind of gone into this in a few of my talks, and it's a delicate issue, but they've really ramped up the whole pushing of the LGBT, whatever it is. Really ramped it up in the last year or two. And to me, the ramping up of it has shown, or proven, what I've always seen, that it is intertwined with the agenda. And I say it's delicate. The delicacy was trying to have an opinion on that without having that opinion twisted as you're being like some bigot and all that kind of stuff. And I've always tried to suggest that I've got no problem with people and their sexual orientation. That's their business. What I've got a problem with is pushing the agenda as if it's everybody else's business. And the inequality with it, whilst pushing seemingly equality. And I think I've gone on to that in the previous video, so I'm not going to go into that too much right now, other than, as I said, it's become very obvious that it's part of the agenda. And as everything else, as they've taken their mask off and become clearer and clearer about the direction we're going in and got no qualms about showing it, so have they really pushed this trans gender bender agenda, as I call it, basically, plain and simply. Now, as I said, everyone to their own, whatever. But if that's the case, everyone to their own, then Qatar has the right to have their culture respected for what it is, because it is what it is. And if you don't like it, don't put the World Cup there. Don't put the World Cup there, then use the World Cup as a platform to then try and demonize the culture. Because we have no right. We have no right, as far as I'm concerned. Their culture is their culture. And their culture needs to be respected like our culture should so say be respected. People have different cultures. People have different mindsets. People have different beliefs. And I'm not condoning their culture. What I'm saying is, don't put the World Cup there and then come in saying, oh, you've got to change all these ways. Because you put the World Cup there. If you don't like their culture, don't put the World Cup there. Because to me, it seems that the World Cup's been put there to aggravate and to try and sneakily change their culture. The wars, all the wars are regime change. It's the big Western powers thinking that they are the be all and end all of society and culture and humanity, and that they have to install their ways on everybody else. And this World Cup to me seems like a different form of the same thing. Regime change. And it seems a big coincidence to me that even though it was booked in 10 years ago, it seems to have come into the timing right now. At the time, it just seems very convenient that they're really pushing the whole gender bender agenda, and at the same time just so happen to have a World Cup in a country that has a culture that doesn't have the same ideologies that we do. So now is a ripe time to push our ideologies onto them. And like I said, I'm not condoning them, at all. I don't know enough about it, but I just think it's a bit fishy that the World Cup's there. And I said, if you don't like their culture, don't put the World Cup there in the first place. Don't put the World Cup there, then try and come in. It's like, I don't know, come around my yard for dinner, and then after you come around, then you start criticising everything about my house. But you knew me, you knew where my house was, you know how I operate, but you still took the invite, and now you want to come around and criticise everything about my house, criticise my dinner, criticise my hosting. Don't come around in the first place. You don't like it. Who do you think you are to come around and then tell me after you've come in and been invited, now I've got to change everything about how I live? This is my house. So yeah, that's my rant. Don't think I come on the side of a lot of people that are saying don't mix the politics with the football. Yeah, just separate it, leave it alone. Footballers, everyone's entitled to an opinion, but I don't think the footballers have opinions, because if the footballer has an opinion, he's not allowed to express it. What you get is the parrots and the morons. You know, let's be straight up. Harry Kane's the England captain. He said like seeing some ambassador, the man can't speak properly. Man speaks like he's got his tongue stuck in his cheek. That man's not, he's not a spokesperson. He's a footballer. The boy that kicks the ball around, and leave him to do that. That's his business. It's not his business to try and have some political opinion when he doesn't know anything about it. He's just doing as he's told. One thing I've seen in football over the years that I follow football and like football is the gradual squeezing out of opinions. Footballers, like society, have become a bit robotic. They speak in cliches, they all say the same thing. It's all pre-scripted and they don't go beyond that script. I don't know if they just don't have the personality to go beyond the script in the first place, or they're trained in a way where they just know not to. Any which way, they haven't got anything to say. They speak in cliches, they say the same thing one game at a time, and you know, whatever they have to say the right things. And that is politics. So in that way, that's why they're being used. But it's not politics really, because you don't just say the right things, you lead by example. And these footballers are not leading by example. Leave them to do what they do. Leave the World Cup to be a World Cup. Don't use it as some stage for regime change, because to me it seems pretty obvious now it's being pushed in that way, and maybe that's the only reason it's there in the first place. And there's all these suggestions of the corruption and the money and all that kind of stuff, and it's becoming so transparent that the World Cup's not there from a footballing perspective, it's there for other reasons. So you leave my one little vice, my one mainstream vice, just leave it alone, please. I just want to enjoy the football. I don't want to be seeing press conferences and be talking about trans agendas and whatever other issues they're trying to push through this regime change political stage that they're using and abusing. But anyway, I gotta go. I may be back and have more to say on this because it's a bit of a rushed, quick rant. But peace and love, people. Until next time, take care. Bye bye.